How would you like to heal from grief? Carrie will tell us how to do it. And what's so special about Carrie is she's a compassionate listener, writer, and spiritual resilience coach dedicated to guiding people through life's big transitions. And as a mother, ex-wife, and widow, Carrie understands the complexities of grief and reinvention. Grief is such a terrible thing to deal with. And how does someone heal from grief? Because I think when the passing of a loved one happens, I think that it feels like it's like unbearable. It feels like you're never gonna heal that immense pain that you feel. So how does someone do that? Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Well, and you're right. Sometimes it's like people expect to bounce back to where they were before the loss happened. And, I started calling myself a spiritual resilience coach because I was helping people understand that resilience is part of your true nature. It is part of who we truly are. And when we go through a devastating loss, like you're talking about, it's not necessarily that we need to expect ourselves to heal and be all better, but we're going to go through the grief and take from it the love that we had for that person. And we're also going to remember ourselves that we are capable, resourceful, whole, and creative, and we will get through this. And so the healing part is really, where I work with people, it's coming alongside them to slow them down and just recognize that you don't need to be fixed. There's nothing wrong with you if you're going through grief. You're just going through a really hard time. And so you need some care and some compassion and self-compassion and all of those things. So those are all healing agents. Because for me, healing is the application of loving to the parts that hurt.
Thank you. What would be the blueprint for someone who is going through grief to heal it?
Well, what I work with people is while you're grieving, you're also wanting to be thinking about, so say, for instance, you lost a husband like I did. You want to start to think about, well, what is the life that I'm going to create for myself on the other side of this big loss? And a lot of times when we're in the intense grieving part, where our big answer is, I don't know. I don't even know what I want. I just know that I am grieving all the losses, not only of the person that I loved, but the life that I thought I was going to have with them. And so it's created a program, and it's basically a roadmap for people to follow called Rebuilding Your Life After Loss. And, it goes in phases where you're in the healing phase, which, this is that first stage, if you will, where we start to understand what grief is, what it isn't, and that all your experiences that you're going through are perfectly normal for for this loss. Also, in this phase is allowing yourself to feel and to express and to release the emotions that you're feeling. You're feeling everything all at once: sadness, anger, hurt, regret, guilt. There's just so many feelings that you're having all at once. And it's really important to meet all of them with love and with compassion and to move through them. Also, self-care is a huge part of what needs to be handled. We lose sleep, we're not eating well, we're taking care of others. So I really help people slow themselves down and make sure that they're taking care of themselves. And then the next phase is you're starting to move forward. You're starting to make peace with the past, like with what happened. You're starting to bring forgiveness in. And you're also starting to connect with well, what is a dream that I might have for my life going forward? And then we start to take steps towards getting that dream implemented. And people often, when they're going through a huge loss, like a life partner, a child, a job that they love, they lose sight of purpose. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do here? And so we connect with purpose. We also connect with the strengths that you are demonstrating because of the loss. You know, like for me and my husband, he handled certain things in the marriage, right? I just let that happen. But when he passed, it's like, well, I'm going to have to, okay, handle the finances. I'm going to have to step up and be the CFO of the family now. And so it's like learning and also embracing the strengths that you have come into as a result of this. And then the last phase here, or the last step, is giving back in service. Often, when people come through this kind of an experience and they have begun their healing and they've achieved a good deal of healing, they want to give back in service, maybe to people who are going through the same thing, you know, to just reach in to where somebody else is hurting and be there with them. So that's kind of my roadmap for rebuilding your life after loss. And that's how I coach people. You know, I come alongside them and guide them through this process.
Thank you. For those people experiencing grief, not because someone died, but because perhaps a relationship died, as in like they're not with the person that they still love, or a part of themselves died, where they don't feel like they're the same person. They feel like they're completely transformed. They're not comfortable with that. What steps would they need to take? Is there anything different, or it's basically like the same kind of like blueprint for overcoming that kind of grief?
That's a great question, because there's all kinds of losses, like you meant. And to the extent that the thing that, or the person that we lost, either like a relationship or a job that you love, or your own health, or you mentioned your own sense of who you are, your own sense of self-identity. When there's loss, there's going to be grief involved. And I would basically, you know, I've used this roadmap to take people through many kinds of losses. And you adapt, you know, a little bit, spend a little bit more time in one phase, spend a little bit less time in another if it's not as relevant. So that would be my very kind of long answer to your question. But it's basically the same, you know, where people really yearn to be, like I said, not hurried through it, not like rushed through it, or like, when are you going to get over this? You know, you hear people really being not supported in a really helpful way when they're going through loss. And especially when somebody starts to minimize what you've lost. Oh, it was just a job. You'll get another one. Oh, you know, I've heard people, you know, when somebody loses a baby, or, you know, has a miscarriage. Oh, you'll have more children. Don't worry about it. You know, so I really, you know, my message to people is loss and grief are individual. And to the extent that we're all individuals and we have placed different values on what has been lost, we're going to have that kind of grieving experience.
Thank you. How can someone love again after grief?
Such a great question. You know, I went through my own divorce when I was fairly young, and it took me a long time to open up to be in love again. And it was only maybe almost 15 years, no, maybe a little less, about 10 years for me, where I was really ready to be deeply in love again. And I married again. My second marriage lasted for 16 years, and unfortunately he passed away about 4 years ago. And in the beginning stages, you know, most people are of two camps. They will rush out and try to replace what was lost, get in a relationship right away, and that's fine, except sometimes it doesn't work out because we kind of grasp at the first thing that comes along and it's not necessarily the best. Now, for me, for a long time, I don't really want to be in another relationship. I think I'm fine, just going to carry on with my life. And, I started just this past year in dating again, and I have fallen in love again. So love is one of those things that when you're supposed to find it, it finds you. And so people generally know when they're ready to really invest their heart again. Because look, your heart has been bruised, it's been broken, it's been hurt, and it takes some time and some healing to be open, to be vulnerable in that way again.
Thank you. How can someone let go of that grief and that feeling of feeling almost like numb and dead inside, and then to allow themselves to be filled by the frequency of love and joy and inspiration and motivation? Is there any practice or habit or routine or ritual someone could do to infuse themselves again with that self-love or self-joy that will kind of enable them to heal faster?
My take on this is that it really helps to work with someone when you're grieving, especially a major loss in your life, where you really feel like you've just had the rug pulled out from under you, and you're, like you said, you're going through that period of it feels like a great emptying out of your life, and that can feel very scary for people. Because it brings forward uncertainty, it brings forward, that anxiety of, I don't know what's next in my life, and we don't like that. So I would just encourage people who are really knocked on their butt by grief and not really feeling themselves able to move forward, to get some support. There's grief groups. I work with people individually and in groups. It's really important, especially if we're hardwired to avoid pain. Okay, so we're going to do things like distance ourselves from the pain. We're going to distract ourselves from it. We're going to come up with coping strategies, some of them adaptive, meaning they have secondary gains, and others that are maladaptive, like drinking too much or taking drugs that are really meant to just numb you. Now, if you're doing that, you're really delaying and perhaps getting stuck in a grieving process because you're not fully conscious and aware of letting the process take place. And to your question about how do you open up into the love that you truly are, it takes time. It really does. It takes time to remember ourselves back to who we truly are. And I think it helps also to have a compassionate mirror, somebody who is sitting with you, not trying to fix you, not trying to take away your pain or your experience, but just holding that mirror saying, you know what, you're going through something really, really difficult, and you're a beautiful person. You're capable, you're resourceful, you are creative, and your wholeness is what's going to see you through this. It does take time. It does take work. So that's kind of a long answer to your question, but it is part of our inheritance, if you will, to embrace ourselves as loving beings. And that means starting with self-love. Absolutely.
Thank you. Are there any physical activities someone should do when they're grieving? The reason I ask you this is because I remember my mom's husband died, and she was so upset. And I remember that we didn't even talk. We just started repainting her house together. And it was just such a bonding moment where we were trying to stay, you can say, not think about it. And at the same time, almost already starting to recreate the environment and create a change, and at the same time stay physical, do something physical that keeps you in a slightly better state than if you were just like sitting on an armchair and just like crying your eyes out. Would you agree that there's some physical activities someone should do to kind of like get themselves started on the grieving journey?
I agree with you, because this is in the self-care section of my work with people. Like you said, a lot of times people, because grief makes you so exhausted, you just feel like you don't have the energy to get up and move. So it's really easy to, like you said, kind of collapse into the chair and never get up, or just stay in bed. And it's really not the best thing for you. So and grief is a body sensation as well. So you want to move the body. You do want to, a lot of people take up yoga. Yoga is so good for grieving, because I like also the slower yoga where it's restorative. So you're really just being in the poses and slowing down and just really connecting with your body. A lot of times, I do yoga, and a lot of times when I'm in that tender place, I'll cry, I'll release the emotions and everything. And it's also a body, mind, emotional release. So you're working with all parts of the body. So to your beautiful, example of painting the house, you're creating something new, you're doing something together. It is physical, and it also has physical world results, right? You got this beautifully, fresh painted house at the end of it. So I do recommend people find whatever it is, the movement that you like to do. Bicycle riding, yoga was my personal favorite, Pilates, some kind of exercise. And it is just part of self-care, just to keep, if we don't keep the body moving, the emotions can get kind of stuck in there, the energy. So that's what emotions are: energy in motion. They're the feelings that ride on our thoughts and what's happened to us. So it is important to move the body. And so a lot of people take up kickboxing, or something that just gets the anger out also.
Thank you. Is there any activity someone could do to provide almost like a catalyst from that time of, let's say, you've been grieving for 1 year, you've been feeling numb and sad and angry and resentful over the person that, I don't know, died or left you, or a friend that you lost, opportunity that you lost. And then is there anything that someone could do to kind of like trigger that catalyst to create that transformation into, okay, now I'm ready for this flow of love and joy, and I'm ready to bring life back into my world?
I think for everyone it's different. For me, when my second husband died, he died suddenly. I was not prepared for it, and I had to make so many changes, on the outer. And I'm kind of good with systems. I'm good with creating a project, right? So all of the things that I needed to do to take care of myself, like I realized that I didn't even have, credit cards in my name. Everything was in my husband's name. And so for me, it's like waking up to the fact that, okay, I am responsible for taking care of myself now. There's nobody here besides me that's going to do it. Yes, I have the love and support of friends and family, but I'm responsible for taking good care of myself. And I think for me, it was really coming into that awareness. It's up to me now. And also, I leaned into my spiritual practices. I meditate. I have a relationship, with some people call it universal love. I call it God. And so I got really active also in my spiritual practices and my spiritual community. All of the things that I talked about, I got myself moving. I also, in creating the life that I wanted to live, it took a while for the vision to come present for me. But once it did, I started moving on it. So I was living in Phoenix at the time, in Phoenix, Arizona. That is where my husband and I were going to retire. And I realized 2 years after he had passed, this is not my place. I don't want to stay here. So I moved back to the Southern California area, which is where I live now, near my family, near my friends. So that's another thing. Get involved in community. People who excite you, who inspire you. Get involved in the things that are always important to you. And at some point, I recognized I was kind of doing okay, right? I was managing, I was surviving, but that urge that's inside of us to want to thrive again, it's going to start coming forward. That natural joy, that connection to joy that we're really looking for. It's like spring will come after winter. So trust that and just really pay attention to what wants to happen in your life. Listen to those little signals about, oh, I think I'm supposed to go over here. I think I'm supposed to talk to this person. I think I'm supposed to, that kind of thing. We do have so much inner resourcefulness inside of us when we can tap into it. So for me, your question was, it's really slowing down, meeting yourself where you are with love and compassion, taking those little baby steps towards the future that you want to start to create for yourself, and also get the love and support of somebody to work with you, of community, we tend to want to isolate if we're feeling sad and lonely and all that. We tend to want to close down. Open your heart one more time, then you close it, is my thought to leave you with today. You want to close your heart, you want to protect it, but just open it up and go, today's a new day. Where might I find joy? Just a little sliver of joy today.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
Well, my business is called Life's Next Chapter Coaching. So I do have a website, Life's Next Chapter Coaching, and they can connect with me there on LinkedIn, Carrie Hopkins-Doubts, and also in just the normal places, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever. So I would love to connect with your listeners. I think what you're doing is such a great service to the world, to let people talk about their businesses and inspire other people who want to be in business. So I've been doing this a long time. I started out as a grief coach, and this was even before I had experienced a lot of loss in my life. I was just interested in it. I trained to become a marriage and family therapist. So I really have a love of people and wanting to help them through difficult times. And so I naturally gravitated towards helping people work through, heal, and move forward into the life that they want to create. So that's how you can find me.
Thank you. Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health change makers to live your healthiest life ever.